Hey guys, gizmoddict here, and this is the Redmi K30, or should I say Poco X2. So after waiting for more than a year, the Poco team is finally back, but not as we expected them to be. So they've just relaunched the Redmi K30 as the Poco X2, and honestly, I'm not happy with that name. You see, Xiaomi keeps calling other people copycat on Twitter, and if you saw my tweet, you would know what I'm talking about. But anyways, the name doesn't matter because the Poco X2 is still going to be one of the best value for money phones in its price segment. I've been using the Redmi K30 for almost a month now, and today I'm going to tell you everything about the Poco X2 so that you can decide whether you want to buy this phone or not. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. But if you're watching my channel for the first time, then please subscribe and press the bell icon, because apart from this review, a lot of comparisons, Gcam videos, PUBG videos are coming to my channel about the Poco X2, so don't miss out on that. And I would like to tell you that the Poco X2 does not come with any sort of screen protection out of the box. So if you're buying the Poco X2 in the first sale, don't forget to check out our sponsors glazeding.com. So these guys will be getting the Poco X2 tempered glass and the case very soon, and they are the only ones in India to have a 2.5D curved tempered glass for majority of the phones. So you know, I've tried out their products on different other phones that I've owned before, and they are one of the best when it comes to your phone accessories. So they'll have the Poco X2 accessories very soon. Do head over to their website and don't forget to use the promo code GIZMO for 10% discount. On that note, let me get started with the review. So just to clear some confusion first, everyone is thinking that the Poco X2 is a successor to the Poco F1, but that's actually not the case. The X series is a completely different series of mid-range lineup from Poco, and the Poco F2 will be coming sometime in 2020. So Poco F2 is still a mystery. It's a mystery since 2019. So basically the X series is a new lineup of products, and Poco actually wants to release more than one phone a year. Talking about the Poco F1, the major complaint that people had with that phone was with the build quality. Everyone was complaining about how that phone didn't feel premium, and on top of that, it used to break very easily when you used to drop the phone. The display was very fragile, and even if you drop it from a short height, the display used to break. So that was one major complaint, and the Poco team has addressed it completely. Now you get a glass body on the Poco X2, and it's protected by the Gorilla Glass 5 on the front as well as on the back. And if I talk about the design and the in-hand feel, I love it on the Poco X2. The colors are very good looking, the design around the camera is pretty cool, and the in-hand feel of this phone is also much better than the Poco F1. It feels very sturdy and rich to hold, and this time no one will complain about the build quality on the Poco X2. Xiaomi has also brought in the IR sensor, which was missing on the Poco as well as on the K20, and the fingerprint sensor is now moved to the power button. I honestly thought that this was a very bad idea and it was gonna suck, but honestly after using it for a month, I love it. It's very convenient, it's very accurate and fast, and it's exactly where your thumb will rest when you hold the phone. So it's a very good placement, plus the fingerprint sensor is very fast and accurate. In fact, the design of the fingerprint sensor is so good that Realme decided to copy the same thing for their Realme X50. So yeah, all that's great, but one thing that you will miss out on is the notification light, because the Redmi K30 or the Poco X2 does not get it. You had it on the Poco F1, you had it on the K20 as well on the pop-up camera, but here you completely miss out on that. So that's a bummer, but then apart from that, no complaints with the design and the build quality. They've addressed every complaint that we had with the Poco F1. After that, if we come to the front of the phone here, once again we see a very major change. So the Redmi K20 and the K20 Pro had these very nice bezel-less AMOLED displays, and everyone loved it. In fact, I did a charging test between the Poco X2 and the Realme X2. You can watch it here. And I was using the Redmi K20 as a timer in that video, and everyone was asking me what that phone was. So people loved the bezel-less design on the K20, and coupled with that AMOLED panel, it was one of the best displays out there. But unfortunately on the Poco X2 you compromise a couple of things. The major thing that you compromise on is the fact that now you have an IPS LCD display and not an AMOLED display, and this display is not bezel-less. You have a punch hole like cutout very similar to the Galaxy S10 Plus. So a lot of fans are gonna be disappointed, but Xiaomi has done that for a reason. And that reason is the 120Hz refresh rate. You guys might have heard about the 90Hz display on the X2 Pro as well as on the OnePlus 7T, and about the 120Hz display on the ROG Phone 2. Now those are flagship phones, and Xiaomi is bringing the same technology to a phone that is gonna cost less than 20,000 rupees. It's very expensive to make a 120Hz AMOLED display, and that's exactly the reason why they've chosen an IPS LCD display. Now the thing is, this display is not bad. Even though it's an LCD panel, the colors are very good, the viewing angles are good, the saturation is good. It's only when you compare it to an AMOLED panel, you will feel that the AMOLED panel is kind of better. But then it's a trade-off. You can either have 60Hz AMOLED display or 120Hz LCD display, because 120Hz AMOLED display is very expensive to make. You cannot make it for less than 20,000, at least as of now. So yeah, you're gonna sacrifice on the AMOLED display, but that's where things are going, because even Realme X2's successor, the Realme X50, gets a 120Hz LCD display. So don't worry about that, because 120Hz refresh rate has its own advantages as well. And one of the biggest advantage is in terms of day-to-day usage. Because of the high refresh rate, the phone feels very smooth. It's actually buttery smooth, and there is no comparison with the Redmi K20 or the Realme X2 when it comes to the user experience. The Snapdragon 730G handles everything very easily at 120Hz. A lot of people thought it couldn't, and MIUI works great as well. We've got MIUI 11 that is based on Android 10, and it's very smooth on the Poco X2. I've got zero complaints with it. You have to use the phone to believe it to see how smooth it is, and the user experience is great. The day-to-day performance, memory management, scrolling between apps, everything is snappy and swift, and I'm really happy for you consumers because you get to use such features like 120Hz in such a price bracket. Otherwise, you will have to shell out a lot of money to buy phones like the Realme X2, OnePlus 70, ROG Phone 2, which cost upwards of 25 to 30,000 rupees. So user experience is one of the best for our phones in this price segment. And even if I talk about gaming, a lot of people thought this phone cannot handle 120Hz gaming. But it can. I've actually made a video where I've played very cool 120Hz games on this phone, and this phone was handling it very well. I've played games like Riptide GP2, Mortal Kombat X, Dead Trigger 2. I think I played around 6 to 7 games, so do watch that video out. But then if we talk about PUBG, here's where things get a little bit disappointing, because the Snapdragon 730G only supports Smooth Plus Ultra. Even the Snapdragon 765G supports Smooth Plus Ultra out of the box. Extreme frame rate is not supported. It's not a problem from Xiaomi, it's only Qualcomm's limitation. So because of that, you can only go up to 40 FPS in PUBG. But that's not a problem. If you're willing to use GFX tool, you can easily unlock 60 FPS, and this phone is actually capable of playing at that. You can get an average of about 50 FPS or above, which is great. So if you're willing to use GFX tool, you can have the extreme frame rate in PUBG as well. I will be making a detailed PUBG review very soon, so don't miss out on that. I will be using GFX tool, I will be checking the temperatures, battery drain, etc, etc. So in terms of performance, there is no problem on the Redmi K30. The Snapdragon 730G is a very good chipset. It can handle everything at ease without any hiccups. Now after performance, let's come to another major talking point of this phone, the camera. The Poco X2 is actually the first one in India which has been launched with the 64 megapixel Sony IMX 686 sensor. Every other phone that you've seen with a 64 megapixel camera is the Samsung GW1 sensor, and the Sony sensor is definitely better. Apart from the primary camera, you've got 3 other cameras on the Redmi K30, one being a wide angle lens, the other one being a macro lens, and the last one being a depth sensor. Now I don't agree with this choice. I feel that the 2x telephoto lens on the Redmi K20 was a much better choice than the depth sensor on the Redmi K30, because the depth sensor, to be honest, is not very useful. You can do the same thing with software or with the telephoto lens that you have. So they had to cut the cost somewhere, so they've done this, but I would have loved the telephoto lens that we saw on the K20 and the K20 Pro. If we talk about the front facing camera, once again a 20 megapixel sensor, which is great, and you've got another 2 megapixel depth sensor lens, which I don't think is very useful, but it's there, so be it. Talking about the performance, if we talk about the stock camera, the Poco X2 hands down beats the Realme X2, and I'm actually gonna do a separate comparison between both of these phones. So the camera comparison video should be up very soon. I'm just going to summarize for you in this video. So basically, I think in daylight as well as in indoor lighting conditions, the Poco X2 has much natural colors. The white balance is a lot more closer to the actual scene in comparison to the Realme X2. The Realme X2 tends to overprocess things a lot, oversaturates things in some photos, and all in all, it just looks pretty unpleasant. And especially when you go in very low lighting conditions and you try out the night modes, that's where the Poco X2 really shines in front of the Realme X2. Being a phone that supports camera to API, Google Camera also works insanely well on this phone. I've already made a video with Google Camera and stock camera on the Poco X2, so do watch that video out. And Google Camera actually brings in a lot of improvements. The camera quality changes night and day, especially if you talk about portrait mode shots, the low lighting shots, as well as shots in daylight. Google Camera photos are just better with better dynamic range, more detailing. And all in all, I do love the colors from Gcam in comparison to the stock app. So yeah, if you're planning to buy the Poco X2, install Gcam on day one. Right now the stock camera software as well as Google camera is in initial stages, but as you get more and more updates, things are just gonna get better. But even as of now, I can tell you that with Google camera, this is one of the best camera phones under 20,000 rupees. The only thing that's a downgrade from the Poco F1 is that here you will not get support for 4K 60 FPS. Because on this phone, the Snapdragon 730G cannot support 4K 60, so you miss out on that. But apart from that, you can record 4K videos at 30 FPS and 1080p videos is available on 60 FPS. Then we move on to another major concern on the Redmi K30, which is the battery life. So I know you guys are gonna think that we've got an IPS LCD display at 120Hz, the Snapdragon 730G is also there, which is a powerful chipset, and you've also got really powerful cameras. So how all of that affects the battery life on this phone? Honestly, I had pretty low expectations with the Poco X2 in comparison to the Redmi K20 or even the Poco F1, because I knew that 120Hz is very demanding, and we saw that on phones like the ROG Phone 2 and OnePlus 70. The battery life definitely takes a hit when you use the phone at 120Hz. I used my Redmi K30 or the Poco X2 at 120Hz all the time, and even after that, I've easily gotten 6 hours of screen on time. And my usage is not easy. I use social media apps a lot, I use WhatsApp a lot, I use 4G a lot along with music streaming via Bluetooth, Google Maps, and I have phone calls for like 2.5 hours. So all in all, considering everything, normally when a phone gives me more than 6 hours of battery life, it's a best battery life phone. I've seen that kind of battery on the K20, on the Poco F1, and the Poco X2 gives you the similar amount of battery. And in fact, one time I was playing PUBG for like 1.5 hours on this phone, and even after that I was able to get more than 5.5 hours of screen on time. So no complaints with the battery life on this phone. If you're a medium end user, you can actually go for 2 days on a single charge. And talking about charging, it's very fast. Xiaomi gives you the 27-watt charger right inside the box, and if you haven't seen my charging test with the Realme X2, it actually beats the Realme X2. Full charge will only take around 1 hour and 15 minutes, and considering that this phone will easily go for 1.5 day, the battery life and the charging combo once again is one of the best under 20,000 rupees. No complaints with this. After that, if we talk about some other things, audio via the headphone jack was actually very good. This phone supports high resolution audio, and I like the audio quality from the headphone jack better here in comparison to the Realme X2. The audio was louder, especially when you play games like PUBG. So definitely headphone jack audio was great. You also got dual SIM support here. Now here I've got a hybrid SIM slot, but I don't know if Xiaomi will be launching a phone with a dedicated SD card slot in India like they did with the Redmi Note 8 Pro. We'll see that. But you've got support for dual 4G. You've also got support for voice over Wi-Fi. So I have the Jio SIM card here, and voice over Wi-Fi is supported. I use Jio and Airtel, and network reception was great. No complaints with that. And lastly, like I said, this phone runs on MIUI 11, which is based on Android 10. And honestly, I did not speak about MIUI much because there's not much to cover. If you have used any phone with MIUI 11, the experience is going to be same. It's just a lot more smoother on this phone because of the 120Hz display. And talking about ads, I don't think the Poco X2 will get any ads because Poco phones never have gotten ads, and Xiaomi will not do that on this phone. Plus, on top of that, here you've got the Poco launcher and things like that, so it will be slightly different from your traditional MIUI, but the user experience is definitely great on MIUI 11 based on Android 10, and I've got no complaints with that. So overall, I do think that even though the Poco X2 is a rebranded Redmi K30, it's definitely a bang for the buck phone. Just imagine for less than 20,000 rupees, you get a 120Hz display, Sony IMX 686 cameras, the performance is really good, the battery life is very good, and the charging speed of this phone is also very fast. What more do you need in a phone? So yeah, definitely if you're planning to buy the Poco X2, I will wholeheartedly recommend this phone. I think Poco has kind of done it once again because it's one of the game-changing phone. Nobody has offered a 120Hz display at this price point before. I'll be honest with you, 120Hz display can feel like a gimmick sometimes because majority of the movies as well as the TV shows that you watch are maximum at 60Hz. The videos that you watch are maximum at 60Hz, and even the games that you play like PUBG and COD support up to 60 FPS. Only the games that support 120 FPS can take advantage of the Poco X2's display. Plus the UI elements like scrolling between the apps and scrolling in the UI and all of that is at 120Hz. So you're not taking the full advantage of the 120 FPS display yet, but but it's so smooth and the difference is so noticeable, it's difficult to go back to a phone with 60Hz. So the IPS display is definitely not a deal breaker here, but still if you want an AMOLED display, go pick the Redmi K20 or the Realme X2. But if I were to buy a phone, I would wholeheartedly pick the Poco X2. In comparison to those phones, you get a newer device. You also get a phone that has better cameras. You get a phone with a 120Hz display. You've got a couple of things that only is restricted to the flagships. So I really like the Poco X2, and I think once again Xiaomi has done it. They've done a great job, and if you guys are planning to buy the Poco X2, then I'll drop the links in the description box. I'm gonna 100% recommend this phone, and this was my review of the Poco X2. But things don't end here. I have a lot of videos planned for the Poco X2, like Gcam videos, PUBG videos, comparisons with the K20, Realme X2 Note 8 Pro. So if you guys don't want to miss those videos out, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Do let me know how you guys liked this video, because I took a lot of efforts for it, so your feedback would be great. Let me know in the comments. Please like the video if you enjoyed watching it and share it with your friends. Apart from this, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, and you can also comment your thoughts here. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I will be back in the notifications very soon. Peace.